The importance of being a responsible viewer-reader. While you are watching and reading, be thinking. By Danzel Monk Sr. Hey, listen up, I have something very important to tell you. I notice you have been watching a lot of TV lately, animations, action dramas, comedies, talk shows, news, etc., and reading a lot of books. That's okay, but you need to know a few things about what you are watching and reading, and I am going to tell them to you, so listen very carefully, and don't forget what I am about to tell you. I'm serious, you have to listen carefully because this is very important. Failure to acknowledge what I am discussing here has resulted in the growing divisiveness and cancel culture mentality in our nation, that is destroying families and friends, and contributing to the racial, cultural, and social conflicts among American citizens. Who is behind the message? As you know, there are a lot of characters that you see on TV, in comic books and in the movies and books. But what you may not be paying attention to is the fact that most of those characters are not real. That's right, they are not real. They are people playing roles or acting, or fictional characters in a book. However, the people who created the characters, and those who now create the scripts and other material that go into the TV, comic books, and movie production that they and so many other characters pretend to be, are very real, and they all have agendas when they make the TV program, comic books, or movies. This is important to remember. What is an agenda? It's a goal, what everything is being done to accomplish, a final outcome or result that is desired or worked towards. And you need to be aware that not all agendas are good. There are many people who have bad agendas even though they use fun, entertaining means to reach or accomplish them. As a viewer, you should always be conscious of what the agenda is of the program you are watching, what the message is that the creator of that program is trying to get to you by the material they have put into the TV program, news, comic, or movie you are watching. And is that message good or bad? Or are parts of the message good and other parts bad, and if so, how much of it is good and how much of it is bad? Is the good just there to draw you in so that they can influence you with the bad? Is the information based on truth or falsehoods? These are things that you should be thinking about while you are enjoying what you are watching. You should never be just watching and taking in everything you see and letting it influence your thinking. You must stay alert and always be thinking about what the creators are trying to convey by their material being presented on the screen or in a book, and you must make sure that you do not let them influence you with the bad or false that is in their material. Here are some examples of what I mean by bad. When the characters in the TV program, comic book, or movie, lies, says something vulgar or disgusting, curses, use bad or disrespectful language, steals, kills or commits some other act that is not moral, like fornication, adultery or some kind of homosexual act, you should first acknowledge that what they did was not good, and then you must remind yourself not to do such things. Don't just watch and laugh at it and ignore what they did that was wrong, make a mental note of it and how often it is done, and how the act is being presented in the material. Is it being presented as something that is right, true, or good and fun? Or is it being presented as a bad thing that happened or was done? This is important because thinking about these things will help you to understand the agenda of the material and the people who created it. And thinking carefully about this will help you not to be influenced negatively by the bad material in what you are watching. Remember, you are responsible and accountable for what you allow to influence your thinking and worldview. What is a worldview? It is a perspective that is at the core of how you evaluate just about everything around you. If you are not careful to pay attention to the message the material you are watching or reading is trying to deliver to your mind, you could be influenced by it and not even realize that you are being influenced by it. This happens all the time, and many people who have not been told what I am telling you, have been tricked into having their mind changed about things because they were not alert and were not thinking at the time they were watching their programs, and so they came away thinking the way the program's creator wanted them to think. This is particularly true of the way in which news is presented today and how it influences people. I will get back to the news issues in a moment. When the program is a good and decent program with lots of good material that is moral and positively constructive, teaches good behavior, then even if the viewer was not alert, they will be positively influenced by the program. But if the program or book is bad, full of untrue, or indecent material, the people watching or reading and not thinking through what they are being subjected to on the screen or in the book, the material could negatively influence them. The point I am making is that you should not be a dummy and allow the writers and producers of TV programs and movies or writers of books to corrupt your good thinking and beliefs with their ungodly material, when they make characters say and do bad or immoral, indecent things. No matter how entertaining the movie or book is. Always see it for what it really is, and it will never influence you. News media. This is also important when watching the news. Most of today's news media do not report the news, they spin the news to try to influence the thinking of those who watch them. And if the news media is controlled by a leftist, the spin will be leftist, and if the news is controlled by conservatives, it will be spun to favor a conservative perspective. The same goes for any other controlling interest behind the particular news media presenting the news. Right, alt-right and such like. Because of this, it is extremely important that you are aware of the type of media you are watching and what their worldview is so that you will be aware of how to take in the information that they are giving. It is also important to be able to check the reliability of the information you are hearing. Since all sides generally push their particular agenda, you must strive to learn what that agenda is and how their method of reporting the news furthers their agenda. You should also have a method to determine how reliable the reported news from their side is. Often, by carefully viewing their opponent's news reports on the same story, you will get the other side's spin, and depending on the level of honesty of the reporting, the truth will often be somewhere in the middle of both extremes, except when one or both sides are lying about an issue that both benefit from lying about. While I cannot promise you any fail-safe way of determining who is telling the truth or most of the truth in a news story, I can tell you that you are responsible for what you accept as truth, and so you must do your own investigation before you form a conclusion about what was said in the report and repeat a reported view. When it comes to a new breaking news report like a mass murder, or a sensational bad accusation about someone, it is wise to reserve your judgment until sufficient time has gone by, and a great deal of reporting from a variety of different sources has been made public. Very often, the early reports published lack important details and accuracy, because news medias generally rush breaking news to beat each other reporting on the breaking news, because they want to be the first to tell the story. They often tell it without important facts or details, and this often results in lying about or misrepresenting what actually happened and why. Often, leftist media has reported on a murder, or a suicide, and accused the killer of killing because of something a conservative commentator, preacher, or politician did or said, only to later be proven wrong by the actual details that are revealed by real investigation. This is a dirty tactic used to poison the minds of the reader or viewer against the conservative commentator, preacher, or politician. Likewise, there has no doubt been times when a conservative commentator or reporter has misrepresented something that a leftist's reporter, celebrity, politician, or preacher has said or done, in an effort to discredit them. This is just as wrong. It is therefore extremely important that you as a reader or viewer, make every effort and take every precaution to make sure that what you accept as truth, is in fact the truth. I am amazed and troubled by how often I encounter friends, family, and even ministers who have clearly been so convinced by false information they saw in the news, that they boldly and forcefully repeat it to me and others, and become verbally hostile when you disagree with their view. Just think about the arguments over the so-called global warming that was eventually exposed as a non-issue, only to be repackaged as climate change, and now you are viewed as a fool if you do not believe that humans are causing dangerous climate changes that can destroy our world. Also, Darwinian molecule-to-human evolution has now become the standard belief of academia even among Christian institutions of education, and it is the dominant view in media, yet there is no real evidence, scientific or otherwise, to substantiate its belief. The massive propagation of bad news is a major reason for this tragedy. Here is another example. In an effort to stir up racial division, many on the left have plastered reports about police brutality against blacks throughout the media and social media and promote the lie that America is a systemically racist nation. This is a crafty tactic that is very convincing only because of the selective and unrelenting persistence with which they publish examples of white cop brutality on black people. But they do not inform their viewers or readers that percentage-wise, white cops who kill black people, and they do, are not as high as blacks who kill whites, or other blacks. But that perception would not benefit their desired agenda, and so they deny or avoid such statistics. Because their goal is to stir up the idea that America is a systemically racist nation. To promote that idea, black to black or black on black crime must be ignored or trivialized by these commentators. They further instill this inaccurate idea in the minds of those who believe them, by reaching back in our history, when systemic racism did exist, and superimposing that period on our current times, by using a current example of the clearly prejudiced and hateful act by a white person or police against a black person, and then claiming that act, and others like it proves that we live in a systemically racist nation, when the truth is that such acts only prove that there are still evil, hateful white people who disrespect or even hate black people in our nation. But the truth is that that does not make America systemically racist. Systemic racism is what existed back during the Jim Crow days of American history. We should not allow black or white commentators or reporters to manipulate our thinking with dishonest tactics and reporting. Nor should we ignore the fact that there are also many blacks who are racist. Allowing what you read, see, or hear to influence your thinking without carefully evaluating its credibility, is unwise. And now we are being told by politicians, educators, celebrities, and even so-called Christian leaders and medical professionals, that humans can actually choose their own gender and sex. And such blatant lies are being accepted by many who refuse to think rationally. Yet another example is the fact that for the last 2 years our society has been lied to about COVID treatments, and the COVID shots, by the rich and powerful in Big Pharma and those connected to them in government, medical institutions, science institutions, education institutions, and media. And those lies are making them trillions in profits from COVID shots that are and have been killing many people. The truth about COVID has been censored from major media, major social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter and others. But that truth has been exposed by reliable alternative news sources like thehighwire.com, Del Bigtree, Daystar, Dr. Joseph Mercola, Dr. Robert Malone, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Mike Yadin, Dr. Judy Mikovits, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and many commentators who value truth over profit. As an important note here, I should warn you, that if you tap the wrong sources to get information about the people I listed here apart from the links that I have provided, you are likely to fall victim to the very disinformation that I have been warning you about here. Those who are promoting the lies about COVID have very deep pockets, and they effectively are using that money and power to discredit the people I have listed here. In addition to the disinformation coming from the COVID mafia as some call them, there is a litany of just plain bad information about COVID from a vast number of ignorant people who just repeat what they hear to be heard and seen, who have no interest in sharing or knowing the truth. This is also why we must be extremely careful about sources we tap for information. What I have so far discussed here are generally secular matters, but it all has a spiritual component as well. You see, as Christians, we are called to be in the world, but not of the world. This concept is clearly taught by Jesus in the Gospel of John chapter 15 verse 19, and chapter 17 verses 14 to 16. It is also taught by the Apostle Paul in Romans 12 verse 2. We are also instructed to be on the alert because there are evil people who seek to seduce and deceive. 2 Timothy 3 verse 13. That we are to learn from reliable Christian ministries, and develop spiritually from that learning so that we can avoid being influenced by bad teaching from cunning, crafty people who seek to deceive us. Ephesians 4 verse 14. That we are to avoid being influenced by philosophy and vain deceptions that are taught by people that are contrary to Jesus Christ. Colossians 2 verse 8. And Peter tells us that knowing this, We should be careful to avoid being deceived by wicked people, because if we are not careful, we will fall from our spiritual stability. 2 Peter 3 verse 17. You and I must remember that we are responsible and accountable for what we accept as truth and what we teach others. We will all stand before God to give an account of every deed done in our bodies. Romans 14 verse 12. The Apostle Paul said, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that every one may receive the things done in his body, according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad." 2 Corinthians 5 verse 10. Not only will our deeds be judged by God, but Jesus said that even our words will be examined in the day of judgment. But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. Matthew 12 verse 36. Since this is true, we need to take our opinions and communications serious, and not be so easily influenced by those who seek to manipulate us. God will hold us accountable for what we believe, say, and do.